Hey everyone, and welcome. Get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into a world that's a lot bigger than you might think.
Oh, definitely.
We're talking cybercrime. And our roadmap for this deep dive, the FBI's 2023 Internet Crime Report.
It's a real eye-opener.
It is over 880,000 complaints last year,
Yeah.
totaling over $12.5 billion in losses. Just let that sink in for a minute.
And that's probably just a fraction of what's actually happening out there.
Right.
The FBI estimates that a huge chunk of cybercrime goes unreported.
Really? Why do you think that is?
Well, there are lots of reasons. People might be embarrassed or think it's not worth reporting or just not even know how to report it. But the FBI actually found some hard data on this when they infiltrated the Hive ransomware gang's network.
Oh, wow, they got inside.
They did. And they found that only about 20% of Hive's victims had ever filed a report.
So 80% just stayed silent.
Pretty much. And that's why we're doing this deep dive. It's not just about knowing the numbers. It's about you. Understanding the threats, protecting yourself, and knowing what to do if you become a victim. Because this isn't just about individual scammers anymore.
Right. We're talking organized crime rings, even nation-states getting involved.
It's a whole new level of cyber warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And the targets, they're not just after your money anymore. They're going after critical infrastructure.
That's scary. What do you mean by critical infrastructure?
Hospitals,
Yeah.
energy grids, government systems. Imagine the chaos if a hospital's computer systems get locked up by ransomware in the middle of an emergency.
Oh, gosh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling. But the good news is the FBI is fighting back. Building partnerships, going after these criminals' finances, disrupting their operations. It's a constant battle, but they're out there.
Okay, so at least someone is on our side.
They are, and one of their most powerful weapons is information. This report gives us a snapshot of the top threats so we can understand how to protect ourselves.
And what's at the top of the list?
Well, you might be surprised. Investment fraud.
Really? Investment fraud? I always thought it would be something more high-tech.
It seems like it should be, right? But the losses from investment fraud jumped by a crazy 38% in 2023, totaling $4.57 billion.
So why is investment fraud suddenly so huge?
A lot of it has to do with cryptocurrency.
Crypto. That makes sense.
The losses from crypto scams more than doubled in 2023, reaching $3.96 billion.
So crypto is like the Wild West of scams.
It kind of is. It's still relatively new, so scammers can easily take advantage of people who don't fully understand it. And then there's the whole allure of quick riches.
Oh, yeah. Everyone wants to get rich quick.
Exactly. Scammers exploit that. They promise unrealistic returns, and people fall for it hook, line, and sinker. And to top it off, the technical complexity of crypto can be intimidating.
So scammers use that to their advantage, too.
Absolutely. They make it sound even more complicated than it is, so people just trust them.
That's devious.
It is. And if you look at the demographics, it's people between 30 and 49 who are most often targeted.
Any reason why that age group?
It's the stage of life where people are starting to invest more seriously. Retirement, college funds, they're looking for ways to grow their money.
And that makes them prime targets for scammers.
You got it. The FBI has even issued warnings specifically about crypto and NFT scams, urging people to be extra cautious.
So let's say you've managed to dodge the crypto scam bullet. What's next on the threat list?
Well, this one's a little more under the radar, but just as devastating. Business email compromise, or BEC.
BEC. Okay, I think I've heard of that.
Basically, it involves sophisticated attacks targeting businesses and individuals who are making transfers. Imagine getting an email that looks like it's from your boss, asking you to wire money. But it's not really your boss.
Wait, so how do they get into your boss's email account?
There are a few ways. Phishing, where they trick you into clicking a bad link or downloading something you shouldn't. Once they have access to your device, they can steal your login or install malware that gives them control.
So they basically hijack your account.
Exactly. And then there's social engineering, where they manipulate you into giving them information. Maybe they call, pretending to be from IT.
I could see myself falling for that.
It's easy to do. And you mentioned individuals making transfers.
Yeah, I remember you said that. How does that work?
Imagine you're buying a house and you get an email that looks like it's from your real estate agent with wiring instructions. But it's a trap. The money goes straight to the scammer's account.
Oh, no, that's awful.
It is. And to make things even worse, they're now using custodial accounts at crypto exchanges and third-party payment processors to move the stolen money.
I'm not familiar with custodial accounts.
They're like digital wallets managed by a third party. They can be used for legitimate transactions, but they also offer a layer of anonymity, which is perfect for criminals trying to hide their tracks.
So it's like digital money laundering.
Kind of, yeah. And it makes it much harder to track the money and catch the criminals.
Okay, so with BEC, it's not just about stealing your passwords. They're manipulating trust, using those relationships to steal money.
Exactly. And the losses can be huge, especially since they often target high-value transactions.
All right, this is all starting to feel pretty overwhelming. What can we actually do to protect ourselves from BEC attacks?
The key is vigilance. Never rely on email alone when it comes to money. Pick up the phone and verify any request for a transfer, even if it seems to be from someone you trust.
Okay, so don't trust, verify.
Exactly. And never let yourself be pressured into acting quickly. Take your time, double-check everything, and if something feels off, trust your gut.
All right, got it. But what about ransomware? I feel like that was everywhere a few years ago. Is it still a thing?
It's still a very big thing. After dipping a bit in 2022, it came roaring back in 2023. Complaints were up 18%, and the losses skyrocketed by 74%, totaling almost $60 million.
$60 million. Wow. So it's not just about locking up your data anymore, right?
Nope. They've upped their game. They're now using a double extortion tactic where they encrypt your data, but they also steal it.
So even if you pay, they could still leak your information.
They could. And what's even more concerning is the impact on critical infrastructure.
Weren't there a bunch of hospitals that got hit by ransomware a while back?
Yeah, and it's not just hospitals. The report found that 14 out of 16 critical infrastructure sectors were hit by ransomware in 2023.
Power grids, transportation, the things that keep our world running.
Exactly. These attacks can have a massive impact on our daily lives.
Okay, so who are these ransomware attackers?
Right.
Any big names we should be aware of?
The report specifically names Lockbit, Black Cat, Akira, Royal, and Black Basta as the top ransomware variants in 2023.
Okay, so these are like the A-list of ransomware gangs.
Pretty much. Each one has its own characteristics and attack methods. Like, Lockbit is known for its speed and double extortion tactic. Black Cat usually targets large organizations and demands huge ransoms.
So it's not just one big faceless enemy. It's a whole underworld of criminal organizations, each with its own style.
Exactly. And understanding those differences can help us develop better defenses.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's say the worst happens and you get hit with ransomware. What does the FBI recommend?
Well, they strongly advise against paying ransoms.
Really? Why is that?
Well, first of all, there's no guarantee you'll get your data back. These criminals are not known for being trustworthy.
That's fair.
Second, paying just encourages them. It funds their operations and makes them more likely to target others. And finally, even if they do decrypt your data, they might have left behind backdoors or vulnerabilities they can exploit later.
So it's a risky gamble that might not even pay off.
Exactly. It's better to focus on prevention and recovery strategies.
Right. Okay, before we move on, let's talk about another type of cybercrime that I know is a big problem, especially for older folks. Tech support scams and government impersonation scams.
Sadly, you're right. These scams might seem less sophisticated than ransomware or BEC, but they can be incredibly effective. In 2023, they caused victims over $1.3 billion combined.
$1.3 billion. Wow! So how do these scams usually work?
They often target older adults who might be less familiar with technology and more trusting of authority figures.
They're preying on people's vulnerabilities.
Exactly. They often operate through call centers, posing as tech support from well-known companies or government agencies like the IRS or Social Security.
Oh, I've heard of those. They tell you your computer is infected or that you owe back taxes.
Yep, they use high-pressure tactics to scare people into paying.
It's awful that they prey on people like that.
It is. They know how to exploit fear and get people to act without thinking clearly.
But are the authorities doing anything to stop these scams?
They are. The FBI has had some big successes. For example, the Knoxville Cyber Squad busted a massive tech support scam ring. And they've been collaborating with international partners to take down fraudulent call centers in India.
Okay, at least they are making some progress. But the FBI can't be everywhere at once. So what can we as individuals do to fight back against cybercrime?
One of the most important things you can do is report any suspicious activity. Even if you didn't lose any money, reporting to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3, can really help.
Okay, so the IC3 is like the cybercrime hotline.
Exactly.
But does the FBI actually investigate every report? I mean, they must get tons of reports.
They might not be able to investigate every single one, but every report helps. It helps them track trends, identify new scams, and build cases against these criminals. And sometimes reporting can lead to direct action.
Really? How so?
The IC3 has a team called the Recovery Asset Team, or RAT for short. They work with financial institutions to try to freeze stolen funds before the criminals can access them.
Wow, so they are like digital detectives trying to get the money back for victims.
That's a great way to put it. And they're pretty good at it. In 2023, they had a 71% success rate, recovering hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay, now that's impressive.
It is. But they can't do it alone. They need our help.
I get it. Reporting is important. But sometimes it feels like shouting into the void. Does it really make a difference?
It does. Every report is a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
On its own, it might not seem like much, but when you put all those pieces together, you start to see the bigger picture. The FBI can see which scams are trending, who the big players are, and where they need to focus their resources.
So the more people report, the clearer that picture becomes.
Exactly. It's like crowdsourcing crime fighting. The more data they have, the better equipped they are to protect us.
That makes sense. But what about prevention? What can we do to avoid becoming a victim in the first place? Okay, so we've seen just how big this cybercrime problem is. But before we all freak out and unplug from the internet forever, let's talk about what we can do to protect ourselves.
That's a great idea.
Because knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely. And the good news is, a lot of these preventative measures are actually really simple.
So give us your best cybersecurity tips. Where do we even begin?
Let's start with the basics. Strong passwords. And I mean truly strong and unique passwords for every single online account you have.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. It's tempting to use the same password for everything, but that's like leaving all your doors unlocked.
You got it. If someone gets that one password, they have access to everything. So each password should be at least 12 characters long, mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so long, complex, unique for each account. But how do you even keep track of all of that?
That's where a password manager comes in.
Ah, yeah, password managers. I've heard of those.
Think of it as a secure digital vault for all your passwords. It generates those super complex passwords for you and stores them safely so you don't have to remember them all.
Password manager. Got it. What else?
Next up, multi-factor authentication.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Like when you have to enter a code from your phone.
Exactly. It adds that extra layer of security. Even if someone steals your password, they can't get in without that second factor.
Makes sense. Okay, strong passwords. MFA. Now, what about all those shady emails I get? The ones that try to trick you into clicking links or opening attachments. How do we avoid falling for those?
Be wary of any unsolicited emails, especially those that ask for personal information. If it feels off, don't click on anything.
So if I get an email that looks like it's from my bank saying my account's been compromised?
Don't click any links. Go directly to your bank's website or call them to verify. Never trust links or attachments in unsolicited emails.
And what about attachments? Are those always bad news?
Be extra careful with attachments from unknown senders. Even if you know the sender, if the attachment seems weird, don't open it without checking with them first.
Right, because it could be malware.
It could. And speaking of malware, make sure you have up-to-date antivirus software running on your computer. It's your first line of defense against those nasty digital bugs.
Like a digital bodyguard for your computer.
I like that. And here's another one that's crucial. Keeping your software updated.
Oh yeah, those annoying update reminders.
I know they can be a pain, but those updates often include patches for security vulnerabilities.
So you're basically plugging up the holes that hackers could use to get in.
Precisely. Yeah. And let's not forget about backups. Especially when it comes to ransomware, having a recent backup of your important data can be a lifesaver.
Right, because if your system gets locked up, you can restore your files from the backup.
Exactly. And again, the FBI really doesn't recommend paying those ransoms. There's no guarantee you'll get your data back, and you're just funding their criminal enterprise.
So no negotiating with cyber terrorists. Okay, that's a lot of good advice. Let's do a quick recap.
Okay.
Strong, unique passwords for every account.
Yep.
Multi-factor authentication whenever possible.
Definitely.
Be super careful with phishing emails and think twice before clicking links or opening attachments.
Good advice.
Make sure your antivirus software is up to date, keep your other software updated too, and back up your important data regularly.
You got it. All simple steps, but they make a huge difference.
But what about those tech support scams? We talked about how they often target older adults, people who might not be as comfortable with technology. How can we help protect them?
Education. Talk to your parents, your grandparents, anyone who might be at risk. Explain how these scams work. Encourage them to be skeptical of anyone who calls claiming to be tech support.
So have those conversations and be patient.
Right. Empower them to ask questions and verify everything. If something seems fishy, tell them to call you or someone else they trust before doing anything.
That's such a good point. We need to create a culture of cybersecurity awareness where we're looking out for each other.
I agree. We're all in this together.
And if you do experience any kind of cybercrime or even suspect something is wrong, report it to the IC3.
Don't hesitate. Reporting is crucial. It helps the FBI do their job and protect everyone. It's about taking a collective stand against cybercrime. The more we report, the stronger we become.
Okay, so education, communication, and reporting. Got it. We'll be right back after a quick break with a final thought on how we can all work together to make the digital world a safer place. You know, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the threats to the prevention strategies, even the FBI's efforts. But what really stands out to me is how we're not just helpless victims in all of this. We can actually make a difference.
That's so true. We have the power to change things.
We've talked about the importance of reporting cybercrime, but imagine if everyone actually did it.
Oh, it would be huge. The FBI could really get ahead of these criminals.
They could spot trends, identify those criminal networks, allocate their resources more effectively. They can be so much more proactive.
Exactly. It wouldn't just be about reacting to attacks after they happen.
It would be about preventing them in the first place.
Right. And it goes beyond reporting, too. It's about having those conversations with our friends and family.
Especially those who might be more vulnerable.
Yeah, like older adults who might not be as tech savvy.
Yeah.
If we can teach them about these scams and encourage them to be skeptical.
We can help protect them. It's about creating that culture of cybersecurity awareness, looking out for each other.
Absolutely.
It's about shifting our mindset from being reactive to proactive. We don't have to wait to become a victim.
We can be informed, prepared, and stay vigilant.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into cybercrime, I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic. Yes, it's a complex and evolving landscape, but it's not hopeless.
Not at all. We have the tools, we have the resources, and most importantly, we have each other.
Let's stay informed, stay vigilant, and report anything suspicious. Together, we can make the digital world a safer place.
A safer digital world starts with each of us.
That's it for this deep dive into cybercrime. Stay safe out there, everyone.